Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Adam with NFT Bros Podcast, and today I have a special guest coming on the podcast. If you're listening on the podcast, you can't see his pretty face. This is my co-founder, Alec. Alec, go ahead and just introduce yourself real quick.
Hey guys, I'm Alec. I'm a co-founder for Just Cubes with Adam. We've known each other for about a year at this point. I'm really excited to be on this podcast and chat with Adam about some, upcoming things in the NFT space, in the crypto world, stuff like that.
Sweet, awesome. Thanks for coming on. Hope you're enjoying your drink over there. Let's dive in. So if you are watching on YouTube, feel free. You can just click on the article in the description and follow along with us. But I just wanted to touch on a couple articles really quickly to see what's going on with the space in general and give you guys an idea of like where my head's at in terms of what's going on with the space and some things that I saw on a couple news sites. So Y Combinator is an incubator program for new companies to launch. I believe it's based out of Silicon Valley in California, and what they do is invest in startups and new companies and give them funding to get their idea to market. And they have pretty much doubled down on crypto since last year. Last year, 6% of their total, percentage of companies that they invested in were crypto, whereas this year it's 13% of companies that they're investing in are crypto-based. So more than doubled in terms of the amount that they've begun investing into new companies that are in the crypto space or focused on crypto or NFTs in any way, shape, or form. So I think that's pretty bullish. Y Combinator is one of the most well-known in the world for incubators, and seeing them double down on crypto, even though the space is kind of not in a great place, is pretty bullish in my eyes. So that's pretty interesting. The article's really, really long and quite in depth. So if you want to go check it out, I will link it in the podcast description as well as the YouTube description, so you guys can check that out yourself. But before Alec and I dive in, I want to touch on just two other things, and then we'll kind of dive in to some more back and forth chit chat and get into the podcast. The Ethereum Merge, it is coming, and it's coming quick. It's going to happen next week. By the time you're hearing this podcast, it could potentially have happened. It is September 11th today. It's 10 p.m. when we're recording this podcast. It's saying sometime between September 13th and 16th, which is good because the last time they said anything, it was looking like it was going to be on the 19th, which is my birthday. So that would have been kind of cool to have the ETH 2.0 merge happen on my birthday, but it's looking like it's going to happen a little bit prior to that, which is good. Things are happening faster than expected, which is awesome. So that's what we got going on, and then we can kind of dive in. This we don't really have to touch on. We can touch on that in the segment that we kind of came up with about our biggest losses in the NFT space. So I guess we could just dive in there.
I think my biggest loss is, I'm not sure if it's your biggest loss, but we definitely went in together on this one. I think it was maybe late last year. Yeah, definitely early this year.
Early this year.
There was a project. Should we say the name, or is that kind of like?
This is going to be on the YouTube video.
Okay, yeah. So there's a project called Ukiah Kingdom, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Gary Vee. I assume you are, but kind of early in the days of the the NFT hype train, whenever Gary's name was attached to something, it kind of blew up. And I think Gary joined the chat. And he just said like one word.
Gary joined their Discord and said like one thing, and it just fucking everybody lost. And it was pre-mint, like hours before their mint or something. Yeah.
And I think it went to, their high was 0.4. It's showing an OpenSea at 0.3, but 0.4 was the high. I know that because we bought at 0.4. And at that time, I think ETH was like 3,400.
Something like that.
Yeah, so that was it was like $1,000. I don't know, $1,700. I don't know, whatever. And yeah, so we were like, this is gonna be great. 0.4. You know, I think I just sold, but like I think personally, I just sold my biggest NFT, probably like 1 ETH. I don't know. Bought at 0.4. Really excited. Anyways, so like 6 months later, we just looked at the price. It's at 0.01. So that's essentially I don't know, $1,000 loss.
Yeah.
So that's personally probably my biggest loss. What about you? Is that yours?
I would say that's probably my biggest loss. I've made some big sweeping plays across a couple different like projects that didn't turn out too well, but I think in one play, in one project, that was the most amount I've lost at practically instantaneously. Like we literally, as soon as we bought, I mean, if we go back and look at the activity, we probably bought the 2 highest priced ones in the entire collection. And from the moment we bought, it went downhill from there.
Buy high, sell low,
Hey, that's exactly. Yeah. I'm trying to look at NFT Go and see the charts from floor price on the charts, but I don't think... Oh, yeah, here it goes. That's market cap. I want to see activity in a chart, though. I don't know how to see it in a chart. But
yeah, I don't know how NFT Go works. But anyways, we've definitely bought the top.
Yeah, definitely bought the top of that. That would hurt.
And then I think maybe a week or two later, Gary V struck again, and there was this project called Crypto Skulls.
Man.
And I think we were looking at it at 0.04.
Yep.
That was the price. And Gary V made a tweet, and I think it went to like 3 ETH. Right?
No, I think they went to like 5 or 6.
5?
So if you're watching on the YouTube video, you can see this massive fucking spike. Look at this fucking spike on this chart on OpenSea.
Yeah.
Dude, it went from literally where we were looking at it we were on voice chat together with one of our other co-founders and some of the Cube Squad, and it was at 0.04, 0.05 range, and Gary made a tweet about it and was like, Crypto Skulls. I want to go find the tweet, but he puts out so much content, I really don't feel like looking for it. But yeah, he put out a tweet about Crypto Skulls, and I was so hurt by that last Yokai play. I was like, nope, I'm out. Fuck that. These bitches went to like fucking 5 ETH the next morning.
I think Gary bought one for like 100.
Yes, Gary bought one for 100. I literally woke up the next day and I got on voice chat with Chronic, who is our other co-founder of Just Cubes. I got on voice chat and he goes, don't go look at NFT skulls or Crypto Skulls. And I was like, don't do this to me, Chronic.
Yeah.
Why'd you even say anything? I wasn't going to look at them ever again. And I go and I fucking open it up, and it's like a 4.8 ETH floor. And I'm just like...
Yeah, that could have been a bag. But it was not.
I'm just going to fucking call it a day. It's fucking like 8 a.m. I'm done with today. I'm going to go back to bed. That's enough hurt for one day. But... yeah, that was one of the biggest missed opportunities. Not lost, because but definitely one of the biggest missed opportunities for sure.
We can then fast forward probably like 4 months later when we were looking at ENS names.
Oh gosh, don't even get me started with ENS names.
And if you're not familiar with ENS names, it's essentially words, I guess, that you can buy on the Ethereum network. It's kind of similar to buying like a website address.
They're domain names.
They're domain names, yeah.
Essentially domain names for Ethereum, right? So you can utilize these to, instead of, so if you're new to crypto and you don't understand what ENS is, I'll explain it just really quickly. So ENS names are your domain name for your wallet address. So that wallet address you have in your MetaMask wallet or your Coinbase wallet or whatever wallet you use, the OX and then a bazillion digits and that ends in, it's just like crazy. You can't memorize it, nothing like that, right? So you can buy an ENS name. Say your name is Dale Carnegie, right? I'm just using a book that's in front of me. So you can go and buy dalecarnegie.eth, and you can register that to your main wallet, and you can now receive funds from friends or whoever, and all they have to do to send you funds, instead of going and finding your wallet address or potentially messing up by copying and pasting it, they just type in dalecarnegie.eth and they send it to you, right? And there's value in that. It's similar to domain names on the internet, right? So TikTok.com, before TikTok was a thing, was probably worth nothing. Now, if TikTok didn't own it prior to launching, it would have probably been worth millions, if not billions, right? Same with Walmart.com or whatever the case may be. Now, in the ENS space, it's kind of like pre-Web 2 boom right now with where ENS names are, because you can go buy Walmart.com as an ENS name, right? Walmart.eth, right? But it's probably gone. I guarantee you it's gone because I looked it up. But the thing is, these are very similar to website domains in Web 2, whereas in Web 3, this is your, I guess, Web 3 domain name, and they can be used. And a lot of them are worth quite a bit of money, specifically 3 digits and 4 digits.
Probably 2 digits.
And 2 digits.
And 1 probably. I don't even want to.
Yeah, I don't want to look up 1 digits.
Anyways, though, we can go into the day where our other co-founder, Chronic, which will probably come up, more than once. He loves, DJing into things. He was like, hey guys, 4 digits are, going right now. Actually, I think he was talking about 3 digits. They had just sold out recently. He said, wait, maybe look into 4 digits, and 4 digits being 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1,000 is 4 digits. 9,999 would be the
4-digit range.
Yeah, and he said, you guys may want to go into those. I was like, okay, I'll buy 1. My buddy over here didn't buy any. Our buddy Chronic bought, I think, 7 of them.
Keep in mind, I found fucking 25.
No, dude, there were hundreds.
I found 25 that I personally would have purchased, because I liked the number combo or whatever the case may be. I have them in my favorites still. I don't want to go look at what they sold for. Yeah, they're worth.
I can tell you the offers I'm getting.
No, I don't. I don't want to know. Yeah, go ahead for the podcast.
So I mean, it's not nothing crazy, but I think just today, if I look at my emails, I got an offer, I think, for 2.5 today. I think the highest has been 3 ETH. Anyways, I think at the time we were looking, we could have bought probably 100 each, at maybe 0.0 4 maybe, somewhere around there, with that and the price to keep it for a year.
Yeah, 0.07 all in, I think.
Yeah, so that was kind of a big hiccup. But again, I mean, I think that one of the big things in this space is there's a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda. A lot of times people are gonna be like, I'm so stupid for not doing this. But it's hard to know what's going to happen because the space is so new and it's just so unpredictable that, I don't know, frozen margarita.eth could, go crazy tomorrow. Or, I don't know, whatever, or Golden Circle NFT 10,000 collection could pop off.
Yeah.
I'm just anything, could go crazy for whatever reason. So if any of y'all out there, hate yourself for not buying something, everyone does it. I think that's kind of the big message here. No matter how good you are at, TA or whatever, there's always going to be these projects that you wish you bought.
Just wait. If you don't hate yourself already, just give it a couple months and you'll be like, oh fuck, I should have bought that when it's worth 5 ETH.
Westy's
Oh no! I'm gonna yes, we're gonna talk about this. I'm sorry, Westy. Westy is our dev.
Westy's an amazing developer, by the way.
Oh my god. Yes, if you guys, if any of you...
No, I was talking, not this, but him watching, I think, Journey or Crypto talking about Bored Ape at 0.01
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Oh, gosh,
Yeah.
I forgot he told me that. Yeah, he was in the space watching Journey Crypto talk about Bored Ape Yacht Club apes before they were even above 0.1. And I thought you were referring to his Doge Pound.
Oh, no,
play.
his Doge Pound.
Oh.
No. Him.
I'm going to put it on there anyways because
Yeah.
just because I know it hurts.
Well, the sad.
And I think he'll laugh at this.
The worst part is that we were like, buy it. You should buy it. Reward yourself. Because I think that was after our mints, right? He bought it.
Yeah, I think so. So, damn, this is rough. It's a 1 ETH floor for the slime Doge that he owns. I'm not sure which one he owns, but I think I don't know. Do you remember how much he spent on it?
I think 4.
4? Okay.
Maybe 4, 2 or 4. I'm not sure.
I think this is his right here. Isn't this?
No.
Or does it have pizza in his mouth?
I think there's pizza.
It's pizza. Anyways, yeah, this is a rough play for my boy Westy.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Doge. I don't know. I think they'll come back. I mean, they were one of the biggest collections back when we were first getting into the space. I think they were at like 7 ETH or something at some point. Let's look at their all-time. Yeah, they were up averaging 4 ETH. So
I'd say probably 5 because I feel like that average is down. So.
It probably is. Yeah.
So maybe he bought around 2 because I don't think he bought the high. Or actually, well, slimes were more rare.
Slimes were, yeah.
But
I mean, he spent a lot of. It was definitely above the floor at the time when he purchased. So, R.I.P. Westy.
Yeah, but more IP for the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which to be fair, that was one of the first. So he had no way of knowing. Again,
Yeah.
We all wish we bought Bored Ape Yacht Club. We all wish we bought Bitcoin at $1.
Yeah, there's gonna be plenty of that in this space.
Yeah.
But also, a play that he didn't make that I made after we minted out was a mutant. So, I was looking at mutants at.
I think 70s, right?
No, at 3.
3?
I looked at. They hit like a low of 3, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to buy 2 of them." And I didn't pull the trigger because that would have been the most amount of. It was ETH was at like almost like 4K or like 3,800 or something, and I was like, "Damn, that's crazy." That would have been the most amount I've ever spent on something that I couldn't like physically touch in my life, and I was just like, oh, I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it. And I was hovering over the confirm MetaMask transaction button on 2 of them, and I didn't do it. And I told Westy, and he's like, yeah, I don't know, that's a lot of money. And then 2 weeks later, they doubled in value, and they were at 6 ETH, and I was like, fuck. And we were all sitting there, and we were just like, damn, we definitely should have bought. And secretly, behind everybody's back, nobody knew, I have a private wallet that is not even, it doesn't interact with anything except my ledger that I hide things in, right? And I bought one at 6, and it's been probably one of the better plays that I've made in this space. Now let's talk about our first plays.
First plays?
Yeah.
Wait, do you want to talk about, before we go into like actually, I guess we can talk about that. Then do you want to talk about like selling when you should have sold, like like Bungie and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, we can. Yeah. We can talk about that. So go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say another really important thing I think in the space is taking profits. Everyone says it, and then when you're there, pulling the trigger is really hard.
Yes, but so it's the hardest part. Because now a lot of projects over the last like 5 to 6 months have changed their, I guess, maximum that you can mint. It used to be like 10, 20, 5, down to like 2 or 1. And most of them are like stopping the ability to make profits easily on these collections because they don't want flippers to come in, which is kind of understandable, but you do want a good amount of flippers in your project looking for a flip because it gives you volume, it gives you activity. That shows strength to a long-term investor. If they see constant activity on the project happening, they're more likely to invest long term. But what I'm trying to get at is like the whitelist meta and the amount that you can mint meta is really hurting flippers, because back when we got in, you could mint 5, you could mint 3, which is like the minimum amount that I want to mint at all out of any project is 3, because I want to be able to flip 1 for a profit to cover the cost of 2, and then I want to hold 2 at a break even point, and then if it does go crazy, you can sell 1 for a nice profit and hold 1 forever, or hold 1 for however long you want.
Exactly.
You have a nice profit. That's my main strategy when I'm trying to get into a project or purchase a project at all. It's changed a little bit now because it's hard to get 3 mints, right? Yeah. Even as founders who are connected, like one of my boys just launched a project and he only gave me two mint allocation, and that was on 2 separate wallets because I was the homie, and I couldn't even get 3 for that. And granted, it's my friend's project. I wanted to get 3. I ended up grabbing some off the floor to get 3 and make some profits and make that play that I just explained. But it's hard. But yeah, definitely taking profits it's hard to do when you're emotionally attached to a picture of a fucking animal on the internet.
I think Mechaverse and Bungie.
Oh my god.
They were. I don't know. Do you want to do that guy dirty? But before we go into that, I would say Mechaverse.
Yes,
and Bungie
I do want to do him dirty.
We're probably one of the first 2 projects that kind of capped the mint. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Bungie and Mechaverse. Probably Mechaverse more so. If you have been in the space for at least maybe like 6 months, that was one of the first high. I think that was like the highest mint price.
Probably the highest mint price of the time and the most hyped project of all time in the space at the time.
Because before that, seeing a Discord that had over 50K was unheard of. You'd have
literally nobody.
Discords of 10,000 minting out.
The only people who had
seconds.
that was Bored Ape.
Yeah,
at the time, and they were only at 15, 20 ETH.
Yeah. And so I know when you hear 10K, you're like, oh, those are all fake. No, 100K. And back in maybe 6 to 8 months ago, probably 6 months ago, when you saw 10,000 or 100,000 in Discord, those were all real people. The bots really hadn't come to the scene yet. So that was super hyped. The chat was going crazy. You basically could not keep up with messages.
Yeah, it was nuts.
It was insane. And I think that was one of the first projects to do. Mechaverse was one of the first projects to do a raffle system where essentially you had to prove that you had at least 0.2 in your wallet, maybe.
Yeah, 0.2.
0.2 in your wallet, and then if you have 0.2 in your wallet, then they let you go into the raffle. But anyways, I'll let you go into your play here and that poor man who bought from you.
Yeah. So, Mechaverse. I told myself when I got into the NFT space, it's been just a little over a year now. I told myself, okay, here's $2,500. This is what you're going to start with. And this is all you get. This is your adventure into crypto. If you fucking lose it, you fucking lose it. Whatever. $2,500 to me at that point in my life was just hey, fuck it. I'm down to go lose $2,500, whether it's at the casino or, NFTs. And I was like, let's explore something new. This is an interesting place. And so my first couple plays, I'll start with those, and I'll lead into Mechaverse, and then we can talk about Bungie. Mm-hmm. My first play in the NFT space was a project called Hewer Clan, Hewer Clan, and that was one of the biggest flops. And it was my first one, and I spent $600 on that at the time, and it was just a complete flop. And I was like, well, this $2,500 is going to go fast. Fuck. And so that one flopped. And then I bought a couple other projects. One of them, I made some decent flips. I think I was pretty break even in terms of trading, but I owned a lot of NFTs. So my ETH was very low. I only had 0.27 at the time. And I went ahead and registered for the Mechaverse mint. And I remember this, and I'll remember it for the rest of my life. I was sitting on the couch at my cousin's house dog sitting for him while he was gone on vacation. And my alarm goes off on my phone. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I reach over, and it's a Mechaverse raffle, or Mechaverse mint alarm. And I was like, oh shit, that's happening today. So I hopped on my computer, and I checked if I won the raffle. And it didn't say anything. And I was like, what the fuck? And so I went in their Discord, and you literally just had to sit on the minting screen until it said you won or not. If you got a spot, it just popped up, and there was a mint button, and you could select how many you wanted to mint. And I literally sat on the mint screen for like a good hour and 20 minutes as I just see mints going through and through and through. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It gets to like 7,200 minted out of the 8,888 collection. And I'm like, damn, I ain't got it. And then a fucking mint button pops up. And I was like, oh my gosh. And keep in mind, at this time, the floor is at like fucking 3 ETH already. And the mint is 0.2 or like 0.15 or something. And I was like, oh, and I minted. And that night, the floor went to like 6 ETH. And I called Alec and Chronic, and I was in Discord with him, and I was like, dude, guys, I got Mechaverse. And they were like, no fucking way, are you gonna sell? And I was like, I don't know. I fucking held that bitch for 2 days at an 8 ETH floor. And I was just like, I don't know what to do because it was so hype. And then some FUD came out around the project of people inside the project were buying rares because they had access to the metadata before the metadata was released. So before you could see what you got, the internal team at Mechaverse was purchasing these for ridiculous prices before you could see it. And so essentially they were, I guess, insider trading on information that we didn't have yet. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, ooh, that is not going to go over well with the fucking community. I'm out. And I had mine listed at 10 ETH at the time because I was like, hey, fuck it. 10 ETH, like, that's like 30 or 35 racks at the time. I think ETH was at 3,500. And I was like, fuck it. I'll take it. If someone wants to give me 10 ETH, fuck it. You guys can have it. I don't care what it is. I'll never look at it again. And I saw that information come out on Twitter, and it started going crazy, and Discord started asking questions, and I was like, ooh, fuck this. I had a 7 ETH offer on it, I think. No, I didn't. I listed for 8 ETH, which was a little bit above the floor at the time, because I think floor was 7.5, and I went to bed, and I woke up, and there was no sale, and I was like, fuck. And I had to drive home at that time. And I don't really use my phone when I drive quite a bit. I just, I ride motorcycles. And so I just try and pay attention to like what I'm doing on the road. And so I had a 2-hour drive, and I was just like nerve wracked the whole time thinking about it. I was like, fuck, what if the floor is dropping? Like I wanted to check the floor, but I was like, all right, it's, I'll be home. Fuck it. It's not worth it. And I get home, and I throw my car in park, and I check, and the floor's at 7. And I'm like, oh, okay. Didn't drop as much as I thought. Dropped from 7.5 to 7. And the FUD is still going crazy. And I was like, fuck it. I lowered my listing to 7 ETH, and it was bought like 30 minutes later. I got a note. I remember this vividly. I got a notification on my phone from OpenSea as I was walking across my parents' lawn to go pet their dog. And I was just like, astonished. Out of that $2,500, this one $600 play, and it was the last money I had in my wallet at the time. Out of that $2,500, it was like $651, and the mint cost me $647 or something. So I had like $3 left. And that one play, I think after OpenSea fees and Mechaverse royalty fees, was like a $28,000 profit, and that was fucking crazy. I didn't know what to do. I was literally fucking shaking. I was at my parents' house at the time, and I walked inside, and my mom was home and my sister was home because my sister still lives with my parents, and they were both sitting on the couch, And I just had this like look of just like astonishment on my face, and they're like, "What happened?" And I was like, "You know that NFT I told you about that it was like worth a lot of money?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "It just sold." And they're like, "For how much?" And I was like, for $30,000." And they just lost their mind. It was crazy. It was like the most crazy experience ever. But I don't know, man. That's just, it's crazy. That's all I can say. It was one of the best plays and one of the luckiest, I guess. I mean, there was, I think 90,000 people entered that raffle or something crazy. Yeah. But then after reveal, everyone was just like, "Oh, this art is not it." And I mean, seriously, like you can look at the chart if you're on the YouTube channel looking. It went up to like 8.5, which I think the floor reached 9 at some point. So like it went up to 9, and then this is after reveal. It just went downhill.
I think also a big thing was there was nothing else besides the art. Like it was just, I think people thought it would be like a game or like a anime series or something like that, but it was literally just nice looking art and then nothing else behind that. And have they done anything else with the project?
They've been doing quite a bit. I mean, they made a ton of money on their mint.
Yeah.
And I know that the team transferred a lot to USDC before ETH tanked. Mm-hmm. So they still have a lot of funding. They're still doing things and it's active. And, you know, I think there's still quite a few purchases going on. You know, not as many.
What's their volume?
Total traded like 50K.
Oh, yeah, wow.
50K
yeah.
volume.
They're sitting there. If they're sitting pretty happy either way.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the first probably shock to the space. Seeing a project like this, like so hyped.
That was really big.
Because
that was really big.
Yeah. It's really interesting how the space has evolved. I guess probably that's kind of how every new technology is. It starts as like, you know, very simple like art. Anything that's related to it will sell, and then, you know, here we are now with you have to have, you know, 5 different kinds of utilities and that, you know, whatever. Well, we can get into that later, but yeah, that was insane. I remember talking to you about that, and I was like, wow, that's so crazy that you got that, because everyone in this space, and I'm pretty sure there was probably close to maybe 300,000 people in the space at that point. So like a third,
something like that.
A third of the people knew about this project. Well, I think everyone knew about this project.
I mean, it was probably more like 500,000 were in the space at the time.
Yeah.
And there was like 300,000 following their Twitter. Let me see what their Twitter's at now. Yeah, 255. So they've lost quite a bit. But yeah, at the time it was crazy. They were the most talked about project in the space. I mean, even more so than Bored Ape at the time. It was crazy. But then Bungie came.
Bungie did come.
Bungie was good. I wanted Bungie so bad, but I didn't get it.
Do you know what the mint price was? Like, was it 0.1 or 0.2?
I think it was 0.2.
Yeah, so
I mean, we can go look at the contract.
I joined the space a little later than Adam, and I think I came in with maybe $1,000, and I definitely lost on my first. You can pull up if you want the first one I bought.
Oh yeah, let me pull that up.
Here my Simply. I literally knew nothing about.
Oh my gosh.
NFTs at this point.
Is there any volume on this project?
No. Maybe like one Ethereum.
Oh, it's on Polygon too?
Oh,
or is that on ETH?
That's on ETH.
Oh, ETH on Polygon.
Yeah. No, I just bought this just so I could learn how to, you know, use OpenSea and such. But anyways, yeah, I bought this simply. Nothing about the project. I think I watched a YouTube video. It was like after my I think I watched a Gary Vee video, then I watched another YouTuber. And then I bought this just for no reason besides I was like, that looks like, you know, kind of cool. Anyways, so after that, I just started, you know, jumping into a bunch of Discords, and I think Brett Way, we were both in there.
Yep.
And we just saw all these projects going around, and then Bungie was, you know, the big project at the time after Mechaverse, right?
Yeah. It was a decent
maybe like
while
a
after
month wait,
probably
a month later, yeah. And essentially, it was this famous artist. I forget his name, but he does these kind of like astronaut. If you look at the YouTube right now, you can see these astronauts. They're kind of painted really cool. And essentially, he launched, I think it was 16,000 at 0.2. And the reason there was so much hype behind it was I think this was one of the first times a a big time artist was doing a over 10K collection in the space. So everyone was like, wow, this is gonna be crazy. He's gonna give you so many opportunities to do X, Y, and Z. And I was lucky enough to get on the whitelist for this project. After talking in chat for probably maybe 2 days worth of time. And at that time, grinding for whitelist was a thing. I'm not sure if you the newer NFT users are familiar with this, but essentially you talk in chat, and if like a moderator was saw you talking enough, they'd essentially give you whitelist. And anyways, I got whitelist. I was like, awesome, this is great. 0.2 Ethereum. I think that was maybe about $900, maybe $800. I don't know, something
that.
around there at the time. And I bought it and I held it. I'm still holding it. Well, like Mechaverse, this project, I think
it's hard to see on the chart.
I think the high was 0.7. I'm pretty sure the high was 0.7.
Yeah, I think the average top floor price was 0.7, or I think it got to 0.8. To be honest, I think it did get to 0.8.
But I remember talking with Adam in voice chat, and Adam and Chronic.
Yep. Chronic has one as well.
Chronic and I both bought it.
Yeah.
And Adam was like, "Yeah, you should sell it. It's done." Well, we did not listen to Adam, and I think Chronic eventually sold his. I still have not sold mine because I think the art's kind of cool. But I spent 0.2, and now it's at 0.1. Should have sold, but it's one of those situations where you get you spend so much time trying to get the whitelist, and you get so attached to the art. Yeah. It's really hard to let go of these things sometimes. I wonder what that is.
Probably just a really big sale.
Yeah, I'm sure someone sold for maybe 10 ETH or something like that. But yeah,
probably.
It's just sometimes super hard to take profits when you kind of fall in love with the project or spend so much time on a project. Yep. I think after this, I lost all connection to projects and I just sold immediately. There was the Wyverns. Remember that project? It was after It was after Kaiju. So after Kaiju Kings, there were a lot of dragon type projects.
Yeah.
And there was one called Wyverns where I got the whitelist. And I remember I was like, I'm not doing Buji again. I'm just gonna sell immediately. I sold within an hour, and that was a good win. I think I got 0.6, 0.7 from that.
Nice.
But yeah. Getting attached to projects is pretty
dangerous.
Easy to do.
It's dangerous. Yeah. You can't that's why I tried to buy 3.
Yeah, buying 3.
It really eliminates the emotion that you can really have attached to it. Because if you think about it logically, if you literally just go, okay, I have $500 invested in 3 of these. If it gets to a point where I can sell 1 for the entirety of the 500, and I do, I'm at break even. I literally have these for free. So now there's no emotional attachment. I mean, maybe a little bit, but if you're good and you can detach emotionally and look at these things with an analytical side, the analytical side of your mind, and be like, okay, I'm in for 500. I sold 1 for 500. I have these 2 for free. Hey, I'll just pick the one that I like the most, put it in my ledger that I'm not going to touch these NFTs for a long time, and then keep the other one just in case it goes crazy. And you can sell one for a big profit, right? But it's hard. It's very hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Simply. That's funny.
Yeah, that was bad. I mean, I personally, it's your money. I'd recommend just buying a cheap project and seeing how OpenSea works, seeing how a community, functions. I think it was $70 when I bought it, which wasn't too much at the time.
Yeah,
so
not
it wasn't a loss.
Not too bad.
I learned a lot from it. I'm sure you learned a lot from your first purchase. You learn that you're gonna lose a lot of money really quickly. The space is probably one of the most volatile, things you can do. You can make a lot of money, and often I think you see people making a lot of money, more than you see people losing money. But that's probably because people making money is a better headline than losing money. So you're on TikTok, you're on Twitter, I made $100,000. That's great, but 100,000 people lost $10,000. I don't know.
Yep. The clickbait for the I made this much is much higher than the clickbait for the I lost this much.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a fuck how much you lost. Mm-hmm. They care about the wins. All right, and now to kind of just, I guess, wrap up the episode, we're going to touch on the green and red flags and the things that we look for before investing in an NFT project. And if you're watching on YouTube, I have the checklist up on the screen. Now, I want to preface this with, please just don't screenshot this and not listen to whatever we're going to say next, because this was a checklist I had when I used to go through the checklist one by one 6 months ago, when this was very, very relevant. Things have kind of changed a little bit, and we're going to talk about that. So please do pay attention, and maybe take notes and create your own checklist based off of what we're talking about. I might even do that for you guys and put that out, like an updated checklist on what we look at in projects. But do you want to go over this first, or do you want to just kind of like spitball?
I guess we could probably go over that first and then talk about how it's changed. But I would say it's probably a really good idea, though, to make your own checklist based on maybe a bunch of other checklists, because, aping into a project, I think, it's fun, but it's real money, on the line. So don't, as Adam said, do not look at this checklist and be like, okay, Adam said this, I'm going to go buy this. Do your own research, always. Yeah,
definitely. And without sounding like a crypto and NFT YouTuber, this is not financial advice. Please don't take this as financial advice. I need a skateboard that says this is not financial advice.
Can you edit this?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get that. Just just scoot over a little bit, and I'll put that on the skateboard.
Yeah, you're not a financial advisor.
I am not a financial advisor.
I'm not a lawyer.
Oh my gosh,
this is not legal advice.
Bleep this out. Yeah, so back into the episode. Sorry, we had to hide that secretive chat.
There's always things whenever we hear something, both of us, we literally oh my god, rabbit trail.
Yeah, it literally happened yesterday when we were at a lunch with somebody. We were like, oh my gosh, wait, okay, so that could do that. And I looked at him, and he knew what I was thinking, and I was like, yeah, we can't say anything about it right now, but yeah, so. That happens quite a bit. But anyways, let's dive into
we could send them all NDAs
really quickly.
I'll write them up for y'all.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So I'm just going to read through the list that I have here so that the podcast listeners can just, okay, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. And then we'll kind of break down each, and then we'll break down how it changed and what we look at. So the first thing on the checklist is, how did you hear about the project? And what is the quality of the source? Did you just run into it on Twitter? Is that how it happened? Okay. We'll break down this a little bit more after we get through the rest. Number 2 is, where is the project at in terms of its life? When is or was the mint, and how much was or is the mint? Those are a couple things I look at in terms of number 2. Number 3, what's the floor price and volume if the project has already launched? And what are people buying? Look at that. If people are buying the rares versus the floor, these are more long-term investors likely. We'll touch on a little bit more of that after we get through the rest of the checklist. Number 4 is, how many items and how many holders? Are there any whales? Number 5, what's the community like? What's the team like? Number 6, how's the roadmap look? Is there any utility? Is there a timeline on that utility delivery? What does that look like? And number 7, what is the social presence like? Is the audience engaged? So now that we've gone through the checklist, if you want to start off with number 1 and talk about that, or I can, we can kind of just go about it. But let's talk about, how did you hear about the project and the quality of the source?
Yeah, I think we can kind of go back and forth on this one. Yeah. I think right now the main source is Twitter, right? There used to be these websites, I forget the names, there were 2 big ones. Names where they would post the projects too. Because there's
a list of projects.
There were so few projects launching at the time where they could actually list out each project launching per week, and there were only 3 per week or something crazy like that. But yeah, I think it's really important to, especially with Twitter bots right now, to, again, not financial advice, but look at, who's promoting this project. Are they mostly bots? Are they legit in the space? Did they obviously buy the verification symbol? Stuff like that is really important, because I think most people are going to be hearing from projects, from Twitter or from a Discord chat, which is going to lead them to Twitter, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just doing a bunch of research on, who's actually telling you is still, I think, the most, the best way to go about things.
Yep, definitely. Understanding the quality of the source is super important. And not to get political or, fake news, not to bring that into this talk, but you got to think about that nowadays. It's so easy to fabricate a story and make it look real just because you have the money or you have the connections to make that happen, right? There's been multiple news articles that have been proven completely false on publications that are supposed to be putting out the facts, right? And these are just completely fabricated stories. So imagine it's easy to do that at a top publication. Imagine how easy it is to do that in an emerging space, right? That's just filled with scammers. It's super easy to do that. And so you got to really look at the quality of the source that you're finding these projects at.
For sure. Also often, I'm sorry, I just want to go into, also often people promoting will get a cut, which isn't bad. If you really believe into a project, sometimes they'll give you part of the project. I personally, and I think you have advised for projects where, we'll promote it, we'll talk about it, and we'll get a cut. So that's something also looking into. If someone's, going ham talking about this project, and they may just be, doing to pump their own bag. So there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, either that or they're paid a very high amount to promote these projects.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, some of these projects have a lot of money that are coming in. They got pre-seed investment, and they have, hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend pre-mint promoting the project. You've got to think about that. And there's ways to promote projects in the Twitter space that make the engagement look extremely high at all times, and it's very inexpensive to do. And so if you have this money and these people and you have these connections, you can make that happen very quickly and make your engagement look very, very real when in fact it's not. So you got to look at the quality of the source. I would like to give this a scale, rate these. So if you literally if you put these a checklist in your phone and leave space below each to give a rating of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, and then add that score up and add up the total and see where a project ranks when you're done. Don't completely write it off because you saw a kind of sketchy article in a NFT related online magazine and it looked paid. Okay, so they're doing some content marketing. Don't completely write them off, especially if the project is cool and you go through the rest of the checklist and it kind of has high ratings. Don't let the number one on this checklist be the reason you don't invest in a project, right? And so go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm choking on something.
Okay. Do you need water?
Yeah, 1 second.
Would you like me to pour some water in that cup?
Yes, please. I'm so sorry.
I'm just going to leave this in the episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me saving my co-founder's life.
Sorry about that. Anyways, sorry, finish your thought, and I had something to throw in there.
Oh, that was the whole thought.
I was going to ask what your number one, this may be premature, but what your number one, thing is when you're looking to a project. If this is the most important thing on that list, you can give that 5 points out of the you know what I mean?
Yeah, out of the total.
Something like that.
It carries a higher weight, right? I see what you're saying.
This could be top tier, and all of them could be 0.
Right.
You'd
I
still
understand.
be I'm still considering.
I'd say team and roadmap are right up there together. If the team is solid and their roadmap is or kind of standard, okay, I still might really consider investing in this project. But if the roadmap and the team are both like, oh shit, this is cool, this is revolutionary, these people are awesome, like, fuck yeah, this is a major deciding factor in me moving into this project. Whereas if the team is not doxed, for example, which we'll talk about, that kind of brings my score lower than having a doxed team. But if the roadmap is just like, oh, what the fuck, this is crazy, if they can deliver on this will be nuts, right? This is new, this is unheard of. Okay, even though the team's undoxed, like, I might still consider. So I think those two things are right up there.
So I'm gonna disagree with you here. I think this may be inspired by Gary V. I think my number one is the art. So at the end of the day, you can't always depend on a team. A team can say like, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. You know, a roadmap can look amazing, but at the end of the day, no matter what, you're still stuck with the art. And honestly, I mean, sorry, if you love like art, just, you know, I think that's a valid reason to buy something. You know,
True.
If you're not buying for any utility, if you're just buying because you like what it looks like, I think that's
totally
a okay reason to buy. And you're not going to care if it goes, you know, to zero. That was kind of my mentality on Bungie. I'm still not kind of sad I didn't sell, but, you know, I love the art. So I think that, you know, personally, that's my, you know, number one. That's the reason why I'm buying, I'm okay with, you know, everything else going to hell in a project.
Okay, fair enough. Cool. Let's touch on number 2 real quick. All right, so looking at where a project is at in terms of its life is super important. So, like, is this project that you found pre-mint or is it post-mint? Those are the only two, right? And finding out what their roadmap timeline looks like, where they're at on their roadmap, have they been delivering? Like, have they checked several of the boxes that they're showing that they're going to do with the funds post-mint? What does it look like? That's important to a long-term investor because there's different psychologies when looking at a project post-mint, whereas looking at a project pre-mint will have different requirements. So looking at, let's say, Bored Ape Yacht Club, we'll just use them as the example. They're post-mint. Have they delivered on their roadmap? They didn't really have one until they created the other deed and the other side, right? And so, okay, did they deliver on this? Yes. What is the future timeline on them launching the other side? Like, looking at those things, will those things be a catalyst to your investment going up or going down at this current time in the market and at the current floor price of the project? Whereas a lot of the other things on this checklist come into play pre-mint. So something like how many items and how many holders. You can't look at that pre-mint because you don't know. You can see how many items if they've released the supply, but you can't see how many holders. You don't know if there's any whales interested in the project, right? And so there's different things to think of and like a different perspective to take on when looking at pre-mint investments and post-mint investments. So understanding where the project is at and its in terms of its life is important.
No,
Do you have anything?
I totally agree with you. I don't think I have really anything to add to that.
Cool.
That was,
Yeah, and then looking at what the floor price and volume is. Obviously, if this is a post-mint project, checklist question. If you're looking to come into a project post-mint, what is their floor price look at right now? Is the volume moving on the project? Do they have a decent amount of volume? When did they launch? At what mint price did they launch? Like, all of these things are important to look at. What was their mint price? Are they below mint price? Are they above mint price? That might be a good indicator of like their performance and things like that. And so taking those into consideration and what people are buying is a huge one as well.
I think the volume is a really interesting topic because often people who hold a project will be, I guess, looked down on when they sell, but at the end of the day, it's good when people sell. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So as an outside viewer, it's really good to see people buying and selling, whatever project. But as a holder, you're always like, oh, don't sell, blah 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 blah, But yeah, I think a lot of volume is always good because it shows people.
Other than actively involved in the project.
Correct.
And having a lot of movement around the project.
It almost, I guess, supports your investment, if that makes sense, because it shows that people actually
are continuously interested.
Correct.
Moving forward. Yeah. Cool. Glad you brought that up. Something else that we can touch on is how many items and how many holders, and are there any whales? This is obviously a more post-mint question to touch on than pre-mint, because you don't know how many holders there are. You can only judge based on the social media size and following that they have, right? Their Twitter following, their engagement, and their Discord, right? So that kind of comes into the final question of the social presence. But looking at how many items there are in a collection versus how many holders there are is a good indication of whether or not there's a bunch of whales in the project, right? If there's 10 whales that own 30% of the supply, they can dump the price practically instantaneously. If you hold that many of one of a project, you got to really look at that and try and make a best guess on whether these whales can and are willing to do that, because you see that in a lot of collections that are high floor price. These whales will come in, they can drop the price because their DCA'd average that they're in can allow them to do that, which allows them to dump the floor, get people with paper hands to go, oh shoot, the floor is dumping, let me list lower and get out. They can buy those lower listings, delist their NFTs that they hold 20 of, and then bring the floor up by 6 ETH without having to just sweep the floor, right? So there's a lot of manipulation that can happen within projects, and looking at whales is a good one, as well as percent of holders.
I think whales though are like almost like a double-edged sword, because when you're initially buying into a project, if a whale's buying, that's a really good sign. I'm gonna jump in because someone's about to buy a bunch. I think Otto was one of the big whales that we kind of started out with. Whenever he bought a project, we're like, wow, that's a great one to jump into, because I know that he's going to buy a bunch and I'm going to be able to sell high. But I think, coming into a project later, as you said, whales can be bad because they have a lot of power. So, but it also shows that someone with a lot of money, maybe believes into a project, because, I don't think all whales have, bad motives. They can, though. Often maybe people get angry. People in the space may just buy a bunch. If they have a lot of money, they'll buy a bunch and then sell low just because out of spite. But I think that more people than not are positive, and I guess we probably could talk about that in a different time. How you see a lot of negativity, but on the other, there's actually more positivity. But anyway, I don't want to go into that right now. But
cool. No, I like your analogy. They are double-edged swords. That's for sure. So moving on to number 5 is, what does the community look like and what does the team look like? So do you go into Discord and as soon as you start reading the chat get negative vibes from whether it's just within the community or the team, or do you go in there and just kind of see a lot of people being positive, like just talking about the space in general, or like sharing information and being I wouldn't say positive, but just more so no negativity, right? What does the community look like in that? I don't know if you want to touch on that.
I think
that's kind of all I can say.
I think you talked about community as one of the most important things. I probably should have said that was one of my most important things, because at the end of the day, they're the one buying your product, right? Because if they don't like it, they're not, likely going to sell it for a higher price or actually going to buy it. And I think when looking at a community, there's 2 things you need to look at. I think it's kind of like a 2-step process almost. So 1, are the people talking about your project? And 2, does it have any substance? People can just be, in a chat because they were in an invite contest and they're like, wow, hype, whatever. But if they're actually talking about the project and talking about why they like it, I think that's a really, really good sign that this may be something you may want to look into.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to number 6 is, what does the roadmap look like? Is there any utility? And then what is the timeline on delivery of said roadmap? So that's a huge thing to look at. I I think that's another thing that I'm going to touch on another episode, which we'll probably have Alec on as well, because we want to talk about Just Cubes a little bit as well. But we're going to dive into utility and roadmaps quite a bit. Maybe look at a few that are online and what we think, and break down the psychology behind that. But I think that'll be a whole other episode.
I kind of want to add one thing into there. How does the roadmap look? Any utility, and then I think possibility of actually executing is really important.
Yeah, true.
But again, we can go into that in a later segment.
Yeah, I think that comes into like what's the team like.
Yeah, and exactly. Yeah. Those go hand in hand.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That's a completely entire episode of it. Yeah, in and of itself, for sure.
I'm holding myself back.
Yeah,
I really want to talk.
No, I know, I do as well. But we can do that at a later date this week
for sure.
And then number 7 is, what does the social presence look like, and is the audience engaged? It's hard to identify fake engagement a little bit. You can see when an account on Twitter is a bot. It's kind of easy to identify, but overall, I think the easiest way to understand the social presence and if it's engaged is inside the Discord if it's open. Is the Discord active? Are people talking? How frequently are people talking? Is there sustenance to what they're talking about? Because like he mentioned, there used to be invite contests to projects and level requirements within the Discords that you had to get qualified for whitelist. And that just, it promotes
spam,
no sustenance and spam inside the Discord of people just typing to type and not typing to like find out, hey, what's going on with this mint? Hey, is so-and-so still doing this in the space? Or like sustenance. And that can be a really good gauge on whether or not the Twitter engagement, if it's crazy high, is actually crazy high because of a community that's strong, or is it bots? Is it paid for? Is it fake? You know what I mean? So that's definitely something that I look at as well, because I come from an analytical e-commerce, social media marketing background. So like all of those things and more, this could be a whole another episode, come down to a final decision on whether or not I'm considering investing in a project. Because if the social media is fake, if all the if I go and look and I can see that 80% of their followers are fake, I'm like, I'm not investing in this shit.
I think Twitter audits.
Yeah,
you
Twitter
should always
audits,
do Twitter audits.
For sure. Yeah.
Also, I found a way using Twitter Picker, which we can go to another time, how to audit giveaways. Because often you'll see a giveaway when that's botted. And I think that's really important, distinguish people that actually, entered and people that actually follow the project that they're entering into.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's very, very important in this, in this list, I think.
Yeah.
Just because it's number 7 doesn't mean it's because it's the least important.
Right.
I think they're all very.
These are just lit. They're honestly, they should just be bullet points and not numbered, because there is no. I mean, you personally will make the decision on what's most important to you, right? Mm-hmm. Like Alex's art and mine is the team and the roadmap, right? Those are what comes down to you in the end is like what's most important to you, and that'll differ for everyone, right? There'll be categories of people who only care about the quality of the source. Did they hear about this from a very, very well-known crypto influencer? Okay, to me, that might not be the most quality source, because I understand how the back end of this industry works. Whereas, what does the community look like and what does the roadmap look like? To me, that's a better determining factor on where the project's going to go in the future than quality of source. So
I also think it really depends on the buyer, because people are buying for different reasons, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's why I'm saying this shouldn't be a 1, 2, 3 type of list. It should just be bullet points that you go over and take an overall weighted score of everything. So
I think there's probably
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's probably 3 buyers, like hype, just in flip. There's software they're trying to buy for utility, or art. So there's like 3 different lists. I could probably branch it down to like 10 different ones. Yeah. But not to beat a dead horse, but again, don't just go by this. You do your own thing. Maybe use this as a reference.
Yeah, this is purely just reference here for for our listeners. And I might even take a little bit of time to put together like a checklist sometime this week and maybe put it out, or I'll release it next episode. But I do want to move on. We're going to wrap it up by showing off some sneak peeks of our merch that we're dropping for Just Cubes. For those of you who are listening who don't know what Just Cubes is, JustCubesNFT is our NFT project that we founded with one other co-founder about 6 to 7 months ago. And we are just now finally getting final merch designs in for and finding the high quality merch that we want to use. So there, if you haven't already seen it, that's a sneak peek of one of our hoodies that has our Hypernode branding on it, as well as just a little bit of a Just Cubes logo down there at the bottom. We have that in very, very high quality hoodies. We have that in t-shirts, super high quality t-shirts, very nice, have some decent stretch to them. Excited about these. They fit really, really well, and I'm happy with them.
Yeah, I think we've gone through maybe 10 orders because we've gone through almost every single option, because we actually want to wear these.
All the QC, I want to rep all of my merch everywhere, right? And so we did a lot of quality testing.
For sure.
So here's another one that's, I think it'll be pretty popular in the space. It says, "Can the devs do something?" Which is just like a very, very funny thing. If you don't understand it, you will if you stay in the space long enough. And then it just has our Just Cubes NFT logo on the back there in black, just kind of subtle to get our branding out there. And another hoodie that we have, it's the same one to Alex, just in a different color. Super high quality, super warm, well fitting. It has this on the back. Like, I didn't want Alec to have to get up, so I brought this one. But it's got the Just Cubes branding on the back. Kind of subtle, kind of cool. Just some different things going on in the back. But yeah.
Should I show the one under my shirt, or is that too much?
I mean, that's kind of a lot.
Okay.
Which,
well, I guess that's just a sneak peek, though.
We do have sneak peeks.
The store.
Yep, you'll see it on the store. So.
But essentially, we made merch that we want to wear. You know, I know
absolutely.
We went through so many renditions, and we finally kind of settled on a few that we really, really like, and I think y'all are gonna love. So we're really excited to get that out there. I hope to see y'all wearing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see some pics. I really want to. So next year at VCon, when I speak on stage, I want to see some cubes. I'm not wearing the fucking cube hoodie. I want to see some cube hoodies and merch and maybe hats in the audience. I know it's gonna happen. I know we're gonna keep growing this project and the NFT Bros merch when it does come out. I want to see some of those out in the audience as well. So yeah, with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. I will see you on the next episode. Alec, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
I'll see you tomorrow and on the next episode.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening to NFT Bros Podcast. If you have 5, 10, 20 seconds to spare and there was any value that was provided in this podcast, if you could please go leave me a 5-star review. That's all I ask. This podcast, I'm not going to try and make money off of ads. It's purely value to the listeners. So if you guys could do that for me, that's my only ask. Please go ahead and leave me a 5-star review. You don't even have to write anything if you don't want to. But if you did learn something, it'd be cool. I love seeing the feedback of these 5-star reviews when I read them, because I do read those. They're very prominent in the back end. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're tuning in on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're tuning in on the podcast, please download it. All right. Peace. See you guys.